So in reviewing all these, let's look at our lesson outlines. Number one, we have the inhibiting factors that inhibit us from passing on the torch. What are some things that will make people not want to mentor others or to disciple others or to pass on what they know to others? We will be looking at why people fail to pass on what they have to others. And we also look at the benefits or the blessings of passing on the torch or passing on that knowledge. So many factors hinder people from passing on the torch, but we shall examine a few of them. Number one, there is ignorance. Ignorance of the enormous benefits that can be derived from duplicating oneself or skill in others. So this ignorance prevents some people who are skillful in a particular field from teaching others the same thing they know. So we can see from the book of Exodus chapter 18, verse 13 to 18, it talks about Moses as he was leading the people of Israel in the wilderness, and at one point he was so exhausted with the amount of work that he himself had to handle. So he was then advised by his father-in-law Jethro to disseminate all those responsibilities that he had in that time. Jethro advised him to decentralize and to delegate all those responsibilities that he had. So he assigned certain men to carry out all the work, some of the work that Moses was doing. So many people are deterred from passing on the torch due to the ignorance that they have. They might not know what it will do to them. They will not be sure, or they will not be knowing of those kind of benefits. So we really have to know that when you are decentralizing or when you are delegating, you are also removing the workload from yourself, and you are also distributing that workload to others. So the other inhibiting factor is the fear of the student being better or greater than the teacher. It also prevents people from passing on the torch. Proverbs 29 verse 25, it says, "Fear of men will prove to be a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord is kept safe." So whenever you trust in God, when God tells you maybe to have a mentee, someone who you are mentoring, some people will be afraid of the mentee becoming better than the mentor of man. We should just trust God in whatever he tells us to do. In this case, God is telling us to think about passing on the torch, or actually take up the task of passing on the torch. Another inhibiting factor is pride. Pride, the self-glory of wanting to be the only one skillful or knowledgeable in a given field, restricts some individuals from impacting others. So when you find a person who is to be the only one who knows how to do something, they don't want anyone to do it better than them because they are proud. But Philippians 2 verse 3, it says, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself." So it is very important to know that passing the torch threatened, it doesn't mean that your reputation is at stake. Passing on the torch does not mean that your position is at stake. It only means that you are being humble enough to disseminate the information that you have to those below you. So another inhibiting factor is the desire to be known and called the only professional in a field. It prevents people from influencing other people. So as we talked about pride, ignorance, that selfish ambition that a person might have, they may be wanting to be called the only professional, be it in their workplace, be it maybe in their school, they only want to be known as the best students. So you would find someone not willing to help others because they only want to be the best. But we are being taught today that there are so many benefits in actually taking those who are below you and bringing them to a level, the same level with you. It will not threaten you in any way. So the last factor that inhibits us from passing the torch that we'll look at is insecurity. Insecurity, the insecurity of being relegated to the background. It makes some people hold on to what they know. So that insecurity or fear of being relegated or of becoming hold on so much to the position that they are currently, not knowing that when you mentor others or when you help others by serving other people, God will elevate you. So we should not be afraid of passing on the information that we know or passing on the torch to those below us, because it will not make us any better than them. It will only make us people who are impacting the lives of those that are below us. So this was our first outline, and we were looking at the factors that inhibit people from passing on the torch. And we talked about insecurities, pride, ignorance. Those are some of the things that make people hold on to the positions that they are on. So let's now look at the blessings of passing on the torch. What are the blessings of passing on the torch? So before we go through those blessings, I want us to go to our Bible passage. And our Bible passage is from the book of 2 Kings, chapter number 9, verse 14. 2 Kings, chapter number 9, verse 14. That's our Bible passage. And I will read it. I'll go through that passage quickly from here. We can read together. It says, "And it came to pass when they were gone over, that Elijah said unto Elisha, Ask, what shall I do for thee, before I be taken away from thee? And Elisha said, I pray thee, let a double portion of thy spirit be upon me. And he said, Thou hast asked a hard thing. Nevertheless, if thou see me when I am taken from thee, it shall be so unto thee. But if not, it shall not be so." Verse 11, it says, "And it came to pass as they still went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind in heaven. And Elisha saw it and cried, my father, the chariot of Israel and the horsemen thereof. And he saw him no more. And he took hold of his own clothes and rent them into pieces. He took up also the mantle of Elijah that fell from him, and went back and stood by the bank of the Jordan." Verse 14, it says, "And he took the mantle of Elijah that fell from him, and smote the waters, and said, Where is the God of Elijah? And when he also had smitten the waters, they parted hither and thither, and Elisha went over." So this story of the succession from the prophet Elijah to the prophet Elisha is a clear testament of how passing on the torch will be beneficial to both the one who is receiving it and the one who is giving that torch. So we can see that Elisha had a double portion of the anointing that the prophet Elijah had. And this is what passing the torch is. Your mentee will be maybe greater than the mentor. The people that you teach, they will be able to do the things that you alone could not even do. So there are so many blessings in passing on the torch. And the first blessing that we can look at is a generational blessing. A generational blessing. Just as the prophet Elijah passed on the torch or the mantle to the prophet Elisha, it shows us that there is a great blessing in doing that. And there's a generational blessing. The transfer of skill or our faith to another generation brings outstanding blessings to the family. And 2 Timothy 1 verse 5, it says, I am reminded of your sincere faith, which first lived in your grandmother Lois and in your mother Eunice, and I'm persuaded now lives in you also. So as it is said that God is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's a generational blessing that was being passed from one generation to another. So here the Apostle Paul is writing to Timothy that I am reminded of your sincere faith that was in your grandmother Lois, and now it's in your mother Eunice, and I'm persuaded that it also now lives in you, which means it's something generational. If you're passing on the torch, you can get it maybe from your mother now to you, and maybe from you to your children, from your children to your children's children. So now what you are doing now is that the faith that you have to pass it to the children that you are going to bear. And that faith will then be passed on from your children to your children's children. This is the benefit of passing the torch, a preservation of faith. The second blessing that we can find from passing on the torch is awareness. There is awareness. Information goes far when it is shared, and with this comes a great level of enlightenment and education. There is so much information that is passed. In history, they call it oral tradition. So you are being told things that happened a long time ago, now being passed orally from one generation to another. So there is awareness. You can find it from the book of Daniel 12 verse 4, when the angel was talking to Daniel and giving him a scroll which was a representation of information. In Hebrews chapter 13 verse 16, it says, and do not forget to do good and to share with others, for with such sacrifices God is pleased. So the information that you have to share it with others, pass it down to others, transfer it to others. The other blessing is experience transfer. There is a transfer of experience from one person to another. So it enables an expert to transfer